Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Radha Sham Sundar Giridhari Jiu Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Kuluchuramani Sava Shastra Siddhanta Vit Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Leela Pravistam Vishnupad Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravistam Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravistam Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravistam Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bhagya Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhattar Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhattadas Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Sarup Damodar Ramananda Rai Ki Jai. Jai Vishva Varenyam Vishnupad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Sakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Siva Sadi Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gopi Govardhan Shama Kunda Radha Kund Kalindi Jamuna Ji Ki Jai. Srimati Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Sri Govinda Kunda Ki Jai. Sri Koladweep Navadweep Dham Ki Jai. Sri Hapaniya Dham Ki Jai. Sri Bhaman Paradam Ki Jai. Brajamandal Sri Brindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Purushottama Ketra Dham Ki Jai. Balaram Subhadra Jagannath Ki Jai. Bhakti Vignavanashana Sri Narasimha Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Sri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavat Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Paramataraj Sri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Navadvip Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. London Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Tadiya Shaka Mat Ki Jai. Tadiya Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandali Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Kol Kartel Ki Jai. Sri Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai. Anitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Gaura. So welcome everyone to our regular Sunday afternoon broadcast from the East London branch of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. Today on the 14th of November 2021. So, essentially, we are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his conception of Gaudiya Siddhanta, which is known as Achinta Beda Beda Prakash. And we should be clear that Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev's philosophical conclusion is that Siddhanta. Siddhanta means conclusion, and not Vad. So there are many Vads. Vad means ism. Like there is Vishishta Dvaita Vad, Dvaita Dvaita Vad, Shuddha Dvaita Vad, and so on. But Mahaprabhu is Achinta Beda Beda Siddhanta, not Achinta Beda Beda Vad. Vad means theory, and Siddhanta means conclusion. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu harmonizes the difference between all of the different Vads presented by the various Vaishnava Acharyas in the recognized sampradayas of Vaishnavism. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has written that after the advent of Sri Chaitanya Dev, slowly but eventually all religious conceptions will merge into the religion of Chaitanya Dev, which is the religion of love, which is shown to be the natural constitutional propensity of all living entities. So, and at the heart of Mahaprabhu's teaching is Shikastakam. And most important of all the 8 verses of Shikastakam for us, from our position, current position, is the 3rd verse. Trinadupi sunichena taroriva suhishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya shadahari. Our Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, he said that this is the trade secret of devotion. And without this, there is actually no real devotion, only outward formality. So what is the meaning? Trunadapi sunichena taroriva suhishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya shadahari. That one must be humble, one must be tolerant, and one must be able to give honor to all, and at the same time not expect any honor or respect for oneself. And Mahaprabhu says, who has these qualities in full, they are qualified to chant the holy name of Krishna constantly. The sound connection with the Absolute. We are to connect with the truth through the sound aspect of the Lord, and that is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In Kali Yuga, this is the prime benediction for all living beings, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. But Guru Maharaj say, Mahaprabhu is not the Messiah of Japa, but he is the Messiah of Sankirtan. And Sankirtan means the chanting of the holy name in congregation with the devotees of the Lord. So not solitary bhajan or even solitary japa, but Sankirtan, the congregational chant of the Lord. Srila Guru Maharaj would say, your japa is feeble. When you are checking where is your mind in the time of your japa, in Guru Maharaj's words, he would say, you will find your mind is marketing elsewhere. So when you are checking where is your concentration during your japa, you will find that you are thinking about anything and everything except that, generally. So of course, that is not that we are to stop our japa, but we are to try to refine the japa. And that is informed by hearing from the Vaishnavas and Sri Gurudev. So that it is not by hearing our own sound that we benefit from the chanting of the holy name, but rather continuously praying for the Lord to manifest in the form of his holy name. The Lord, it is a very mysterious thing that the Lord and his holy name are the same. But how to understand that? It is not just the sound. It is what is behind the sound. And Guru Maharaj says, you may be firing blanks. You may not have a loaded gun. You may be just firing blanks. So to inform us properly, we must study under a qualified Vaishnava. In fact, Krishna himself recommends this to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. It is famous. This verse is famous amongst the Vaishnavas. But in one sense, one might think it's redundant because Krishna is directly Arjuna's guru. So why now is he telling, try to learn the truth by approaching a qualified devotee of the Lord? Because he wants to show that this is the proper method by which Krishna distributes himself to the world, and necessary to approach with 3 qualities: pranipat, pariprashna, and sevaya. Now, pranipat means exclusive regard. That means that I'm done with the charm of this material world. I'm not interested in that anymore. I may be whatever I may be. I may be the worst of all sinners. I may be attached to everything in this material world. But in my heart, I do not want that. I want your connection. And I've come to hear from you. I've gone everywhere and anywhere looking for the truth, and now I have found, here is the truth at your lotus feet. So it is not, spiritual, what I call spiritual shopping, spiritual shopping. You go here and get a bit here, get a bit there, get a bit here, get a bit there. Or, like a bee going from flower to flower to flower. But rather, now I've come. Sometimes they would ask Srila Prabhupada in the early days, the people visiting, that he would give lecture. Can you, like next week, can you speak about Zen? Or next week, can you speak about this? And no, we only speak about Krishna Bhakti. I'd said that, not so long ago, I was going up Green Street for some shopping, and I bumped into one man who used to come here regularly. And I said, "Oh, I thought you moved or something. We haven't seen you for a long time." And he said, "Oh no, I've heard it all now. You just speak about the same things all the time, just about Krishna. Then if you're going to speak about something else, maybe I'll come back." "Oh no, we won't be speaking about anything else apart from Krishna." So, and anyone who's not happy about that, there are so many places you can go and hear about so many things. Then you can go there. There's no problem. But those who are serious about Krishna consciousness, they can come here and hear about Krishna Bhakti. Because that's all we're interested in here. All we want to speak about here is Krishna Bhakti. So that's called pranipat, exclusive regard. That I'm not just coming as a sightseer, but I am coming for the grace, your grace, and to hear Hari Katha from your holy lips. So we are always thinking first, Guru and Vaishnava. They are the nearest Lord to us. And Krishna is somewhat distant to us. Although we can say Krishna is in your heart, Krishna is closer to you than anyone. But the truth is that between us and Krishna there is a Himalayan mountain range which is called the ego. The ego separates us from Krishna. So we need to learn how to dissolve our ego, our false ego, and cultivate our real ego. Ego means identity. But now we are laboring under the assumption of a false ego. So what should be our proper identification? Mahaprabhu has told this. Naham vipro narapatir napi vaisho na shudro naham vani na chagriha na vanastir jatirva kintu prajan nikila paramananda punamritabde gopi bharta padakamalayo das anudas. So what does Mahaprabhu say? I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya or a Shudra. I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not a Grihastha or a Vanaprastha or a Sannyasi. Then what am I? Then I am simply the servant of the servant of the servant of the self-manifesting ocean of nectar, the master of the gopis, Lord Sri Krishna. Mahaprabhu says, this is my ego. So we should try to aspire to that identification within us. And when Mahaprabhu says das anudas, it's not hyperbole or just some kind of poetic expression. It is fact. We are to consider ourselves as the most humble servant of the Vaishnavas. So not first rank servitor or even second rank servitor, and possibly not even third rank servitor, but somewhere we have some place in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Servant of the Lord's servant. Mahaprabhu says this. And that is his genuine aspiration, his genuine feeling. So we are also to try to cultivate that. And how to cultivate that? Necessary to practice humility, tolerance, honor to all, and not to expect any honor or respect for ourselves. Easy to say, not so easy to do. What does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say? What kind of humility? Humble like the grass, humble like the straw in the street. And Bhaktivinoda says, we are worse than the grass, worse than the straw in the street, our position, because when someone comes to walk on the grass doesn't resist, doesn't push back. But we are, when Lord comes to grace us, we push back. No, I don't want that. So our position is worse. So we are to practice humility. We may not be humble, but we should practice humility. In his last days, our Gurudev, Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj, he put up all around the temple a small sign. You may see in some of the later pictures of him, a small sign on the wall of the rooms of the temple, and they said, "Wait and see, wait and see." This was Gurudev's advice. Wait and see. Don't just react, a knee-jerk reaction to everything. Wait and see, and then the truth will be revealed to you. If you are patient, as one of the qualities of devotion is patience. So wait and see, not to just react. And if we are humble, then we can wait and see. But we do have to practice it. And it is a lifelong lesson. All of these things, actually, we are to cultivate that our whole life. So that means not to think that we are important. And why should we think we're important? If you just think about it, that somewhere it's described in the scripture that this universe is like a mustard seed in a sack of mustard seeds. It's just one of billions of countless universes. But we are thinking we are very important. So, if you buy a sack of mustard seeds and you're carrying it home from the market and a few spill onto the road, will you stop to pick them up? No, you just walk on. It's not very important, is it? Few mustard seeds from a sack full of mustard seeds. So, in other words, if this whole universe were to suddenly just disappear, what would be the loss? With all of us. And within that universe, so many planets and planetary systems and so many, and here this small blue planet that we call Earth, and we are arrogantly thinking, well, this is probably the only place where there's intelligent life. And amongst that, the human beings are a very small number amongst all the living beings. But we are sitting here in 466 Green Street thinking, oh, we are very important. But it is not so. We are not important. So humility means not thinking less of yourself, but thinking about yourself less. If you can understand what is the difference to that. Thinking about yourself less means that you must be absorbed in the service of the Lord, the service of the Absolute. When you come in a genuine connection with the Absolute, then necessarily you must feel small and humble, because that's the reality of our existence. Only our ego makes us think that we're very big. It's a type of illusion. So humble, more humble than the grass. And tolerant, more tolerant than the tree, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. The tree is used as the symbol of tolerance. That you can cut it down, it doesn't object. You can chop off its limbs, it doesn't object. And even while you're doing that, it will still give you its shelter from the sun and bear the fruits that it bears, it will give to you. This is tolerance. And Srila Govinda Maharaj would say, of all three things, tolerance is the most important. And by tolerance, you will get everything. Because it's easy to fake humility. Anyone can fake humility. As we see, I often use the example in Charles Dickens' work, David Copperfield. There's a character in there called Uriah Heep. He's very humble. Oh, yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. He's very, always bowing down to his superiors. But behind that, he's plotting how to get some position, how to, cheat all of those that he shows his humility in their face. But always he's plotting against them. No, we don't want to be that kind of humble, Uriah Heep humble. Srila Prabhupada said, too much humility is the sign of a thief. So, be careful of someone who's very obsequious and, showing all that kind of humility. There has to be, our Guru Maharaj would say, religion means proper adjustment. So how to adjust ourselves with the environment in the line of humility and in the line of tolerance. And tolerance means that. Sridhar Maharaj, he said, a devotee's life means a life of dal and gall. Dal and gall. What he meant by that was that the devotees, they eat very simply, they live very simply. Dal is a very simple food. Devotees just take that simple food. And gall means the abuse of others. If you're a devotee, you'll live a simple life, but you will be abused by others. When we see that in the history books, we see that the great devotees of the Lord are mostly persecuted by the non-devotees. Jesus Christ, sacrificed, nailed to a cross for nothing other than preaching the love of Godhead. Haridas Thakur beaten in 22 marketplaces just because he wouldn't give up the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So then we should expect that we will. We shouldn't expect to be beaten in 22 marketplaces or nailed to a cross, hopefully, in our life. But as much as you will take a stand against materialism, that much you will be abused by materialists, necessarily because they are afraid of their position. But we are to tolerate that. One time when I was with Srila Govinda Maharaj in Navadvip, just before leaving, I asked him, you have any message for the devotees back in London? And he said, yes, please tell them that they must tolerate everything that comes in front of them. And tolerate until it becomes completely intolerable. And then they should also tolerate that. By tolerance, you will get everything. And we should try to give honor to others. We heard that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would hold regularly the Ishtagosti meeting of the devotees, where they could, express their questions and feelings and any problems they were having. But during that time, he would have remarked, he would have seen those devotees who are antagonistic to each other. Not everybody likes everybody, do they? I mean, it's just the nature of the world. And even amongst the devotees, there may be one devotee who doesn't get on with another devotee. So then Saraswati Thakur would ask them, he would say, Prabhu, say something in honor and glorification of your friend, meaning the one that he didn't get on with. And he wouldn't accept any superficial thing. He said, Guru Maharaj said, that devotee would have to dive into the bright side, dive deeply into the bright side of that devotee and try to draw out the good qualities in him. And vice versa, then he would ask the other one. So this way they would try to harmonize and try to see the good in others. Srila Govinda Maharaj was always like that. He told me once, my fault is that I believe everybody. And not everybody is honest. Sometimes people are trying to cheat me also. That is my problem. I believe it. Whatever anyone tells me, I believe them. This is the nature of the saint. Nature of the saint, we know. You know, everyone knows that parable, or, maybe it's from Aesop's fables, maybe it's from Panchatantra, or wherever it may be. The Sadhu and the scorpion. So the Sadhu comes to the bank of the river, and the bridge is out, and there's a great, like flooding there. The only way that he can cross is by swimming to the other side. Then the scorpion's there, and he says, "Oh, you're going to the other side, swimming to the other. Will you carry me across?" Sadhu says, "Yes, of course, I'll take you, but you have to promise me you won't sting me, because if you sting me, I'll die and you'll die also." "Yeah, of course I won't sting you. Yes, I'll sit on your head. You can go, and I promise I won't sting you." Okay. Then the Sadhu's swimming across, and about halfway across, the scorpion stings him. And he says, "Oh, I knew you would do it. Why did you do it?" "I'm a scorpion. It's my nature." And he said, "Yes, I know." Then he said, "If you knew, why did you agree to take me across?" And he said, "Because I'm a sadhu, and that's my nature. I have to believe you. I have to try to help you." So this is the fact, that we shall try to give help to everyone, even though we know they may not be able to accept that in the proper way. So this is to give honor to others, and Srila Guru Maharaj would say, by honoring everyone, you make them honorable. If you give honor to everyone. And why we should not give honor to everyone? In the heart of every living being, the Lord is living. Then that makes them honorable immediately. And that is the proper vision. Samadarshana, the saint, the devotee, sees with equal vision all living beings. Then he can honor properly all living beings. But we don't like to do that. We don't like to do that. In fact, we hate it. When we see somebody else being glorified or, being given some honor, we hate it. Something inside us says, why are they honoring them? Don't they know who I am? Don't they know what I've done? Don't they know what my qualifications are? Don't they know? This way, we can't stand it. And we see that, when somebody says something, then, I have to say something. I have to say something to make me look better than them. Try and find something. "Oh yeah, that's very nice what you say, but I did this or I did that." Or, it's one of the traits of the human being, unfortunately, that we like. If we can cut off the heads of everyone around us, it makes us look taller. But actually, it's suicidal to think in that way. So we should try to dive deep into the bright side of everyone that we come in connection with. Everyone has some goodness in them. Everyone, whoever they may be. Even if they're, Pol Pot or Adolf Hitler or Saddam Hussein. There's some goodnesses in them. Must be some goodness in them. Of course, it may not be necessary for us to find that. But we can understand by that everyone has some goodness in them, and we shall try to bring that out. And that was, we were just reading the other day about Haridas Thakur. About when Lord Shiva was insulted by Prajapati Daksha. And Parvati, she says to Daksha, you have decided to find fault with he who is faultless. And Lord Shiva, his nature is that wherever he sees goodness, even a little bit of goodness in another, he tries to fan that and bring that out. But you are just the opposite of that. Wherever you see any goodness, you try to push that down and give insult to that person. Then she said, so therefore, this body which is connected with you, I destroy this body. So, and when we were reading that, hearing about Lord Shiva, we couldn't help but thinking that she could be describing Srila Gurudev. That was his nature. Whoever he met, he would try to draw out the bright side, the devotional side of that person. And always he would ignore the many faults within them, or the non-devotional side of that person. He would ignore that. Because he said to me once, we live in the faulty plane. Then you show me anyone in this material world that's perfect. You will find something. Easily you'll find something. But Gurudev would say, my religion is finding fault with myself. And that's enough. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, we are not to be drain inspectors. Always looking. He said there's a beautiful flower garden on one side and, a filthy sewer on the other side. And you're interested in the filthy sewer. Why you can't give your attention to the beautiful flower garden? Because that's just part of the material disease. We like to see the faults in others. For goodness sake, there's people publishing magazines with that. Gossip magazines. People love it. Read about this one and that one, and they like to build them up and then smash them down and see their fall from grace, and everybody cheers. This is a very nasty part of being a human being, sadly. But so we are to try to practice the opposite of that. Try to see the goodness in others. That is helpful to us. That's why Gurudev would say, my religion is finding fault with myself. Just like Lord Jesus said, why are you looking at the speck in your brother's eye when you have a plank in your own? So, we have enough to do with our own faults without looking at the faults of others. And it says in the scripture that you can be sure that the faults that you see in others will come upon you. You will develop those faults also just by observing them in others, by noting them. So we see that the devotees, they don't do that. They only look to see the goodness in others as much as is possible. So this is important. This is actually, Sridhar Maharaj said, this is our real sadhana. Practicing humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. And at the same time, not desiring honor for ourselves. And that's as important as the other three, is that quality. Because we all desire to be recognized as being important in some field or something. There's flattery and bolstering of the false ego. That's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, that sadhu that flatters me is my enemy. Inasmuch as that means to harm somebody. Because they are absorbed in falsity. And Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say, he would say, there's a parable or a story about the camel, the camel's wedding. That the ass is singing at the camel's wedding. And the ass is singing, how handsome the bridegroom looks. And of course we know, a camel is not handsome. A camel is ugly. And then, but the ass is singing, oh, the bridegroom looks so handsome. And the camel saying, oh, the ass is singing so sweetly. And of course, if you've ever heard the ass singing, it is not sweet. So this is the world that we live in. The ugly being flattered by those that cannot sing sweetly, but they think it is sweet because it's in praise of themselves. So that, it's all false. It's all false. We should try to not to be absorbed in such a thing in any way, not to pander to that, not to desire that, but rather we want that those who actually have our real welfare in mind, they will help us to see the faults that we have within us and to correct those. It doesn't mean, therefore, that we should go around pointing out people's faults and say, it's for your benefit, Prabhu, you need to know. But sometimes the Guru may need to do that. It is called Guru Abhiman. And it is, you can say, like his assumed character, that he will see the faults in his disciples just to make them aware of that and to eliminate those faults. But otherwise, we should not be looking to see the faults in others. In the time of Saraswat Thakur, there was one devotee who was a cook, and he was just always fighting with the devotees, with all of the devotees. He was submissive to nobody, and always giving trouble to everybody. But he was completely submissive to Saraswati Thakur. And at the then he died, and all the devotees went to his funeral. And after the ceremony and everything was over, they were all, I suppose whatever the equivalent of the wake is in the mott, they were all telling, and each one of them telling what kind of trouble they had from that devotee, like how he messed up their life for them in some way. They were all saying like this. And Saraswati Thakur overheard this, and then he came into the group of devotees and he said, he washed his dhoti very nicely, he was very clean, and he was always on time. And it completely silenced all the other devotees. So Saraswati Thakur found something praiseworthy in him, and he wanted to shut down that negative talk. He washed his dhoti nicely, he was always very clean, and he was always on time. So everyone has some good quality. Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say, if the cow is giving plentiful milk, don't worry that sometimes it kicks you. Maybe some cow sometimes has the habit of kicking others. We've seen that, in the Goshala in Navadvip sometimes. When Ashram Maharaj was washing the cows, one cow would kick him, always kick him. And Gurudev said, if cow is giving nice milk, don't worry. You can overlook the fact that he's kicking. So in a similar way, devotees may not be perfect, but if they are giving some good service, then the other things, the bad qualities can be overlooked. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was a great friend of the editor of the Bengali newspaper, Amrita Bazar Patrika. The founder and the editor, whose name I forget, but anyway, he invited him to stay in the ashram in Bagbazar Gaudiya Math for some weeks, and he did. Because actually he was amazed that Saraswati, he's a newspaper man, right? He's publishing this newspaper. The newspaper's still going on today in Bengal. But Saraswati Thakur was also producing a daily newspaper for the devotees, of devotional subjects. And that man said, how is this possible? That every day you're giving something new and something fresh like this, How is this possible? And he said, oh, but you're a newspaper man. Then you know that is there any day when there's no news to publish? Right? Today, you just on front page, nothing to tell today. There's always something, right, in this material world. And then you will think that in the spiritual world, there's nothing going on worth reporting. Yeah. So everyone will see that who is in connection, real connection with the divine world, he can publish a newspaper every day. Saraswati Thakur said, every minute we can publish something new, if we had such a capacity. Anyway, he gives He gives invitation to his friend, come and stay in the mott for a few weeks and then tell me what you think. And so he did. After a couple of weeks, he met with Saraswati Thakur, maybe after 3 weeks, and he said, so what's your impression? And that man said, I think that all of these fellows here, they're all hypocrites. They're all saying one thing and doing the opposite. You should just send them all home. Send them back to their homes. And Saraswati Thakur said, yes, they may be imperfect. They may have so many faults. But should we go to the hospital and send all of the patients home for being sick? Said, so, no, the very purpose of them being here is that they will get proper treatment. So this is the idea that the residents of the mott will get some treatment for their disease, the material disease. If we were perfect, we would not need to live in any mott or anywhere. We could immediately go to Vaikuntha, isn't it? But we are here in the material world, always some fault here, something wrong with our character, something wrong with our mind, something wrong with our body, or all these things, because that's the world that we live in. But you cannot criticize a man for being dirty when he's on his way to the shower, isn't it? He's going to become clean. Then you can say, actually, he's as good as clean already. He's on that way. He's on the way. He's going for that. So, therefore, we should try to see the goodness in everyone. So we should practice humility, practice tolerance, and practice giving honor to others, and at the same time, not think that we are deserving of honor and respect. We are to consider ourselves only a humble servant of our Guru Dev and the Vaishnavas. And if we are able to adopt this, not just as a slogan, not as a bumper sticker to put on the back of your car or something, or a tattoo to have put on your shoulder or something like that, but rather if we can take that in our heart as being the foremost advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for us to properly chant the holy name of the Lord, then we must be successful. Because it is not mundane, it is divine. The instructions of Chaitanya Dev, they are divine. And without them, we are nowhere. So we cannot practice real Krishna consciousness without humility, tolerance, and honor to all. And we need to also be devoid of the desire for any honor for ourselves. So that's actually sadhana. That's sadhana. There's not, one thing that it definitely isn't is a stick for beating others. And that happens sometimes. Once a couple who were serving here, they came to me and they said, we want to complain about the pujari. And not you, Darkesh. As they want to complain, not the, there was a lady, we want to complain about her. And I said, oh, what's the problem? He said, she is not humble, she is not tolerant, and she is not giving honor to anyone, especially us. She is not giving any honor to us. And I said, no, Prabhu, this instruction is for you, not for you to use as a stick for beating others. You are to be humble, you are to be tolerant, and you are to give honor to others, and not expect any honor for yourself. And what is anyone else's position? You are not to look for that. You concentrate on your own self. Physician, heal thyself. You try to see where you are and who you are and what your faults are. It's enough. That will give you something to work on your whole life, and maybe lives upon lives. It is enough. So then that means that in every circumstance, we should try to see in which way can I be humble in this situation? In which way can I be tolerant? And in which way can I give honor to others? Practice it, practice it. We should not be just all the time angry with everybody. And, you know, when someone's coming, knocking on the door to give something to the temple for free, we should not be angry that they're coming to the door. We should be running to the door. When someone blows the conch shell to say Thakur is giving his darshan, we should run to see Thakur. Not just ignore it and carry on with what we're doing. We heard the other day from my friend Paramananda Prabhu in Thailand that when he went to the Natadwar, to see Natadwar, and he said, you know, there's a whole history, and all of the community of Vaishnavas, they moved there with Natadwar from Vrindavan, and worship him. Originally, Natadwar was Gopal. His name was Gopal, and he was the Gopal found by Madhavendra Puri. But when he came to that place and became known as Natadwar by all the Srinathji, yeah, famous as Srinathji. So then he was telling us that, you know, he's staying with some of the devotees there, and he said, when we would go for Mongol Aarti, while we're waiting for the curtains, he said, one man would come running like up to the curtain, and he's like, when's it opening? He's like super excited to have darshan of the Lord. And so Paramananda said to the devotee, saying, oh, this must be someone who's like come on his life's pilgrimage, and he's so anxious to see the Lord, you know, for the first time. And am I right? And he said, no, that's like Haridas Prabhu. He's lived here his whole life. And every day he comes with this enthusiasm to see the Lord. So this is devotion. Of course, it may just be an outward show. We don't know. But still, enthusiasm to see the Lord. You know, sometimes Guru Maharaj would always teach us that progress in spiritual life means thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis. So in this way, something is the thesis, and then the antithesis of that will rise up with it. So let's say in this respect, that to see the Lord in the temple, that is the perfection of the eye for the devotee. That's the thesis then. Then the antithesis will come. What will you see with your flesh eye? And we don't need to rush to see the deity, because what are we seeing? We are only seeing the outward side of it. So we should be cultivating the inner aspect of our spiritual life. And deity is deity, something like that. That's the antithesis. Then the synthesis will be, yes, but Gurudev has given us the service of the Lord. And he has given us also the method by which we can understand and see the Lord. So, you know, Guru Maharaj taught us that darshan is not with the eye, darshan is through the ear. So we hear how to see the Lord. And it's true, what can we see with our flesh eye? But when we come before the Lord, we will come, I am here, please see me. Please see me. I cannot see you, but he is the observer, and we are to be seen by him. So this becomes the synthesis of those two, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Now this synthesis, that becomes the new thesis. And then again, from that, an antithesis will grow, and then a synthesis and this way we progress in our spiritual life, in our proper understanding of Sambandha Gyan. That's called Sambandha Gyan. So spiritual life is like that. So we should not think, though, the deity is outward, and we should just give our concentration only to the devotee. That is true, but not to the neglect of the deity. The service of the deity has been given to us by the Lord, and we are told that service here to the deity is not different from service to the Lord in Vrindavan. It is the same. Lord is the same. We may not have that realization, we may not have that capacity to see, but it is so. Then what kind of honor is it? What kind of privilege is it that we're, fallen as we may be, we are engaged in the service of the Lord by Gurudev. So we should try to adjust our vision. As Guru Maharaj said before, and I mentioned before, religion means proper adjustment. So always proper adjustment must be there. Then, when Guru Maharaj was discussing this verse, Trinadapi Sunichena, when he was speaking about tolerance, he said, but tolerance to who? Humility to who? To the mad people? To the maladjusted mob? We should be humble and tolerant to them? Or to those who are situated rightly? To the Vaishnava? To the Sadhu? To the Guru? That's our adjustment, should be like that. If someone comes to beat my father in front of me, I should say, yes, you go ahead. I'm very humble. No, you will stand in front of your father and no, you will kill me first before you can touch my father. And that is humility. That is tolerance. Guru Maharaj said when Hanuman destroyed the city of Lanka by burning it to the ground, there was no diminution in his humility or his tolerance. That remained intact. And Guru Maharaj said, someone came to complain to me that at one time at the ISKCON temple in Mayapur, that some Muslims came there and they killed a cow in front of the temple. And of course, you can understand there was a riot. All the Hindu people, local Hindu people, and the people from the temple coming, this is a great atrocity in front of the temple and so on. And there was, so much fighting and, going on. And then one of the devotees from the temple came out with a shotgun and fired the gun into the air, and everybody went running, it dispersed everybody. And he's standing with the shotgun. And then, so this person came to complain to our Guru Maharaj, oh, how is this humble and tolerant? He's got a shotgun, firing a shotgun in the air. This isn't humility, this isn't tolerance. And Guru Maharaj said, no, we support him. If someone will come to attack the temple, you should not just be humble and say, yes, come on in and smash everything up. We are very humble people. We are very tolerant people. No, of course not. You will oppose that. And real humility will say that my own life is not worth anything unless I can stand up to those who are coming to destroy our temple. Then let me sacrifice my own life. What is that? If it will achieve the service of the Lord. Of course, it's also a very dangerous philosophy, because the same philosophy means that people strap bombs to themselves and blow up airplanes and all of this as well, don't they? They think they're doing the service of God. But I would suggest that if somebody tells you that your service of God is to do violence to others in the name of your God, then maybe you're in the wrong religion. Now, any religion that teaches you to hate, Krishna does not teach hatred. Krishna teaches love. Mahaprabhu teaches love. Mahaprabhu's whole ethos is love. When Jagai and Madai assaulted Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu came with his chakra to finish them. And Nityananda Prabhu said, no, Lord, you're not Dwarkanath anymore. That is not, this time is not now. Now your weapon is Sankirtan, Nama Sankirtan. You will not kill the demons with your chakra. but you will kill the demonic heart with the holy name of the Lord. This way. And then Mahaprabhu accepted that from Nityananda Prabhu, and we see that Jagai and Madai were rescued and became great devotees. The difference is that, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, I am lower than the worm in stool, and I am more sinful than Jagai and Madai. Of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj is our Param Guru, and we know that statement isn't true, in as much objectively it isn't true. But it is his feeling. It is his genuine feeling. When somebody asked Guru Maharaj about that, he said, do you think it's just a posture, that he's just making a posture? No, he actually feels that. That was Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj, and he said, yes, Maharaj, we understand that Krishnadas Kaviraj isn't any of those things. He's our Guru, he's a Param Vaishnava. But what if you are actually that? What if you are actually more sinful than Jagai and Madai, and lower than the worm in stool? He's saying, I can say that I am that. And then Guru Maharaj said, oh, such feelings are coming in you. And he said, no, Maharaj, but I know who I am, and I know that I am actually that. Then Guru Maharaj said, such feelings are coming in you. So, realization of our position is no bad thing. It is a good thing, even if it's more than is actually warranted. The heart of the Vaishnava. When you come in a real connection with the Absolute, you cannot but feel humble. You cannot but feel these things. It's not possible. Even in this mundane world, when you see something, like, I don't know, go to the Sistine Chapel and see Michelangelo's paintings. You will feel humble to see that. You'll see it as something extraordinary. Of course, we're not quite in agreement with him about his depiction of God as an old man with a beard in the clouds, but but the idea still is something divine. And if you can feel some appreciation of that, you must feel humble, you must feel small in comparison. Go to the Grand Canyon. It is so huge and vast. You'll feel small. And what to speak of, in connection with this vast universe that we live in. And the Lord is more than all of that. For him it is nothing. For him that is nothing. A billion universes is nothing for him. Then we can see what is the difference. What is the difference between the Lord and what is the difference between his servant? Servant is infinitesimal and the Lord is infinite. And always that's the case. In every time, in liberated stage or in bound stage, we are always the servant, and we are always finite, and he is always infinite. It is never that we become God by some process or by some yoga or some meditation or any of these things. Never. We are always the servant of the Lord. But there is great dignity in that. It is itself a huge thing. Because what is the meaning, right? Because it is told in the scripture that the Lord, by practice of yoga, meditation, tapasya, so many things, the Lord can grant mukti to the jiva, can liberate the jiva from the negative side of this material world. And that, by practicing some sadhana and so many, different types of yoga or gyan or so many things, easily the Lord will give that. But bhakti, devotion to the Lord, he is hiding that. He does not want to give that to anyone. Why? Because by bhakti, the Lord becomes conquered by his devotee. The Lord is controlled by his devotee. The Lord says to the Braja Gopis, I have told in the Gita that however anyone surrenders to me, I reciprocate with them. But your type of devotion, I can't reciprocate that. It's too much for me. So you'll have to forgive me. But all I can do is give myself to you. I can give you myself. That's all I have to be able to repay you for that. I don't think it's enough. So the Lord doesn't want to give himself so easily that he will become controlled by his devotee. But those who give their hearts to him, he can never leave them. When Vibhishana came to Ram to surrender to him, everyone opposed. Said to Ram, no, he's from the enemy camp. Don't accept him. Don't accept him. He's Ravan's brother. Come on, he's a spy. We know that, But Ram said, no, anyone that comes to me, even once, in humility and sincerely says, Lord, I am yours, please accept me, then I give that person my shelter and fearlessness for all time to come. This is my promise. Whoever you are, it doesn't matter. If sincerely you come before the Lord and offer yourself to him, he will accept. He will make the arrangement for you. Maybe you do not understand what that actually means practically. But if you are sincere, he will make all arrangement for that adjustment in your life to come to you. The Lord, as the song says, the Lord is awaiting on us all to awaken and see. Chanting the names of the Lord, you'll be free. Now this is the beginning and the end, chanting of the holy name. Chaito Darpana Marjanam. Mahaprabhu's first verse of Shikastakam. That you will experience a revolutionary conversion of your heart. So first, we may come to Krishna with so many expectations. What was it they used to say in the 60s to try and, entice the young people of the time to join Krishna consciousness? Is chant Hare Krishna, stay high forever. That's what they used to say, right? Chant Hare Krishna, stay high forever. And everyone thought, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I want to stay high forever. But they never told us about the, what the actual meaning is, what heartbreak the Brajabasis feel in the separation of Lord Krishna. Just the opposite of that. So then, who will be attracted to that? And we're all in that situation, right? We're all thinking, if I practice Krishna consciousness, how will that benefit me? How will that make my life sublime? Sometimes Prabhupada would say, chant Hare Krishna, and your life will be sublime. So we're thinking, yeah, that's good. I want that. I want a sublime life. I want goodness. I want to benefit in that way. In Gita, Krishna says, these four type of men, they surrender to me. Who's suffering, who's impoverished, who's inquisitive, and who is searching after the absolute truth. They all surrender to me. And which is true and which is good and proper. But that's all. I'm surrendering to you because I'm suffering. I don't want to suffer anymore. I'm surrendering to you because I'm impoverished. I don't want to be in poverty anymore. I'm surrendering to you because I'm curious. I'm inquisitive. I want to find out things. Okay? And I'm surrendering to you because I want to know the absolute truth. Then what happens when your suffering goes? What happens when your poverty is alleviated? What happens when your curiosity has been quenched what happens when you know the absolute truth, in whatever degree you may be able to know it, then what? Then you come to the plane of understanding. Oh, actually, it's not about me. It's about him. As Kennedy said, don't ask what your country can do for you, but rather, what can I do for my country? So Guru Maharaj used to coin that and say, don't ask Krishna what Krishna can do for me, but rather ask, what can I do for Lord Krishna? This is the beginning of devotion proper, you can say. It isn't devotion proper, but it's the beginning, when we understand that actually I am meant for him. I am meant to satisfy him, not that he is meant to satisfy me. That will come to us just as part and parcel of that. Our own inner satisfaction must come as part and parcel of that. But irrespective of that, we are to serve him. And this is the acme of pure devotion. Not, I'll give you something if you give me something in return. Bargaining with the Lord, yeah. That's it. That's not a bad thing if you approach the Lord. After all, it says in the scripture, if you have all material desires or you have no material desires, don't go anywhere else except to Lord Krishna. And whether he grants you all your desires or doesn't grant you all desires, by connection with him, it must be all good. So, okay, come to Lord Krishna with all your desires and put them at his lotus feet and see what will happen. But Mahaprabhu, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, some people say that we should worship God because of all the good gifts that he gives us. But he said that implies if he doesn't give us any good gifts, then we shouldn't worship him. He said, but Mahaprabhu, he says, whether you trample me under your feet, whether you treat me roughly, whether you ignore me, whether you're completely indifferent to me, or whether you embrace me, it's the same. It doesn't matter. Unconditionally, you're my Lord, birth after birth after birth. I have no other alternative but to surrender and worship and serve you. In fact, Jiva Goswami, he says this is the real meaning of the word Bhagavan. Bhagavan is used in a general sense. Narad is sometimes called Bhagavan, isn't it? Mahadev also sometimes called Bhagavan, and so on. But really, Bhagavan only applies to Krishna. Swayam Bhagavan. He is Swayam Bhagavan. And Jiva Goswami says, generally we hear, right, who's full in 6 opulences. That's the definition of Bhagavan. But Jiva Goswami is given a much finer definition of that. He says, Bhagavan means that when you come in connection with him, the only response must be to offer yourself to him. You can't do anything else. It's just natural. Just like iron and a magnet. They're going to connect with each other when they come in there in proximity. There's no other thing that can happen. So when you come in real connection with Bhagavan, Swayam Bhagavan, the only response that's possible is that you must give yourself to him. You must offer yourself to him. You may even die for him. It's just a natural response. And that is Swayam Bhagavan. And who is Swayam Bhagavan? Jiva Goswami clarifies that more fully. Swayam Bhagavan means Krishna. But which Krishna? Mathuresh Krishna, Dwarakesh Krishna, Bhagavad Gita Krishna, or Vrindavan Krishna. Of course, we can say they are all one and the same person, no doubt. But in Vrindavan, Krishna shows himself in his fullness. Nowhere else. Swayam Bhagavan means Krishna in Vrindavan, and Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. When Krishna goes to Mathura or Dwaraka or anywhere, that's Vasudeva Krishna. Krishna expands himself, and his Vrindavan Krishna becomes unmanifest at that time. But still he never leaves Vrindavan. And even in Gita, Krishna says, you know, that in the what Guru Maharaj said, the clarion call of Lord Krishna in the 18th chapter, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mami Kam Sharanam Braja, Aham Tam Sarva Pape Byo Moksha Yishami Mashucha. So the clarion call, that verse, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, like whatever you conceive of as your dharma, leave it and just surrender to me. And Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. That means that Mam Ekam means you'll come to me. Where? In Braja. Sharanam Braja means you'll come to me in Vrindavan. So this way Krishna is, you can say that verse is canvassing for Vrindavan Krishna. That Krishna. And that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. And Swayam Bhagavan Krishna means, especially, more precisely, Krishna when he dances with the cowherd girls. And more precise than even that, when Krishna is by the side of Srimati Radharani. Ultimately, that is the meaning of Swayam Bhagavan. Swayam Bhagavan means Krishna with Radha, the divine couple. That is Swayam Bhagavan. And whoever has real connection with him, they cannot but give themselves to him. Everything else seems like rubbish once you come in connection with that. That's why the devotees say, the scripture says, if you are attached to anything in this material world, if there's anything that you enjoy, if there's anything that you love, if there's anything that you cherish in this material world, then please don't look at that boy who stands on the banks of Keshigat, playing the flute, his eyes like blooming lotuses, in that threefold bending form, with a beautiful peacock feather in his hair, garlanded with Vijayanti flowers. My friend, don't look at him. Because as soon as you see that boy, everything else will be like rubbish to you, will be garbage to you. You will not be able to enjoy this material world anymore. Sounds harsh, doesn't it? But sorry to tell you all, it's too late. It's too late, because you've all seen that boy. You've all heard about that boy. And you won't be able to enjoy this material world anymore. Doesn't matter how hard you try. You won't be able to. You can't. Because you've seen through it. You've seen through the veil. You've seen that, you know, that the Wizard of Oz is this little man just manipulating the machine behind there. You can't take it seriously anymore. So, you know, okay, it's true that we're all addicted to this material world, to our creature comforts, to our little pleasures, to whatever it may be. Whatever it may be, and for everyone it's different. But it's only addiction. We just keep doing it. But we know that there's no rasa there anymore. There's no pleasure there anymore. You're going through the motions. Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different outcome. That's what we do, isn't it, you know? Prabhupada called it chewing the chewed. There's nothing in this world that you haven't tried before. Don't think, well, you know, once I've had a go at this and I had a go at that, maybe I'll come to Krishna consciousness. You've already had a go at it many times. And it's not satisfied you. You may get some vicarious thrill, you know, for some temporary excitement or, you know, pleasure from whatever it is. But it is only that. It's temporary, it's transient, it's passing. And what does it say? That thing which is like nectar in the beginning turns into poison in the end. very easily we can understand that. You know, let's say you go to your favorite restaurant and order all your favorite dishes. You're enjoying like crazy, oh, this is so good. You know, this is the best dosa, or whatever it is that you like, or the best that I've ever had. But once you're full, if the chef comes and says, another one? No, thanks. Go on, have another one. No, I can't. I'll be sick if I have another one. I thought you liked it. I thought you said it was the best ever. Yeah, it is, but, you know, now even the thought of it, the smell of it, the sight of it makes you feel nauseous now, isn't it? It's your favorite thing, but you can't. So that's the nature of everything in this material world. Once you reach a certain level, it's not enjoyable anymore. It's poison now. But the spiritual world, quite the opposite. What begins as like tapasya, practicing spiritual life. You know, we have to get up early, we have to chant our number of rounds every day, and you know, there's some pain there to do that. We have to force ourselves to do it. But we do it. Because why? Because the prospect is something wonderful. The prospect is something blissful. Something that no one else can offer us in this world.
When you are in practice, you miss it.
Yeah, it's true. But Guru Maharaj says, so some pain, little pain will be there. But if the prospect wasn't a blissful prospect, why would we do it? Because we know. So, you know, Rupa Goswami says that because we're diseased, our consciousness is diseased with avidya. And he compares that to jaundice. So jaundice, and I can say from experience, I've had jaundice twice. And when you have jaundice, nothing sweet tastes sweet. Everything tastes bitter. Because there's an overproduction of bile in your system. Then you can't appreciate anything that's sweet, food-wise, or drink-wise, or whatever. It just all tastes like bitter. But in Ayurveda, they make some medicine for jaundice, which is prepared from sugar candy. And then you take that every day, and gradually, as the jaundice is dissipated, you can taste the sweetness of the sugar candy. So Rupa Goswami has used this example, and he's saying, now we are suffering the jaundice of avidya. So the chanting of the holy name is bitter to us. But if we understand that it is the medicine, and if we take that medicine in the proper degree every day, bit by bit, that avidya jaundice will disappear, and the real sweetness of the holy name will become manifest on our tongue. We will be able to taste the sweetness of the holy name. And what kind of sweetness? Rupa Goswami says that it's so sweet that one mouth, one tongue isn't enough. One tongue isn't enough. We want thousands of tongues to vibrate that holy name. And one pair of ears isn't enough. We want millions of ears so we can hear the sweetness of that holy name. But, you know, at least I can say from myself, I'm way far away from any such ideal. But it is our ideal. And it is the recommendation and the experience of the devotees, the real devotees. The real devotees of Sri Chaitanya Dev, headed by Rupa Goswami, their experience is this. So we have faith in that. And, you know, we see day by day in our practicing life that little by little we make some progress towards the goal. We may not be, you know, rolling in ecstasy, but we are seeing that we are becoming indifferent to the things of this world. Yes. We see that we are not concerned so much with all of the enticements of this material world. We can say it. We can say that. That if we compare to when we started chanting Hare Krishna 40 plus years ago and to today, we can see maybe our chanting doesn't, we're not, rolling on the ground in ecstasy with tears pouring from our eyes, but we see that something is there. Something is there. It's like the signpost that you're going in the right direction, because the guy said when you get to the corner, there's a pub on the corner, and if you go past that, then there's this shop, and when you're on the path, you'll see the landmarks are there that he said were there. So our gurus have given us some map, and we can see the signposts along the way, that we are making some progress. Otherwise, why would we still be doing it? Srila Govinda Maharaj said, Srila Govinda Maharaj said, if this were a cheating thing, I would have left it a long time ago. Then we understand that it is not a cheating thing, because it's been proven by the Vaishnavas, by the Sadhus, by the saints. It has been proven to be true. By the scripture proves that it is true. Then we have faith in that. So then what will be the reason if after 40 years of chanting we're still not got the result, the full result? Why? Because we're not doing it properly. That's the question. That's the answer. If it's not cheating, and we're still doing it after 40 years, we haven't got ecstasy. Every time we take Krishna's name, we're not coming out in ecstasy. It's because we're doing it wrong. What does that mean? It means we're not humble, we're not tolerant, we're not giving honor to others, and we want honor for ourselves. First thing. And second thing is, we are making namaparad. The 10 offenses given in the Padma Purana, we must be making some namaparad. And many, if you study the 10 offenses, you will see many we can avoid, but some very difficult to avoid. And the one, for me at least, the most difficult offense to the holy name is the 10th offense. The 10th offense is to still maintain material attachment after learning so many things, to not feel love for Krishna because of our attachment to the things of this world. And when I asked Srila Govinda Maharaj, I said, well, that's all of us, isn't it, right? We're all committing the 10th offense. If it says, Padma Purana says, not to have love for Krishna is the 10th offense, then that's all of us, right? And Gurudev said, what it means is that the holy name wants to take you in a particular direction, and you're resisting. You're resisting that. No, I have my own idea. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to go this way, I'm going to go that way. We have not surrendered ourselves to the holy name. Then we're still thinking that we know what's best for us. This is natural. This is a natural thing, right? Srila Govinda Maharaj said, we will be thinking that everything about Krishna consciousness is very good, I like it very much, I accept it all, but only I know how much I can give myself to that. How much is good for me. I know that. Nobody else knows that. Like to what degree I can accept. I know that. And Govinda Maharaj said, but even that you will have to give up. And no, I do not know what's good for me. Only you know that, my Lord. So I'm surrendering to you. Take me wherever you want me to go. We're a little bit afraid of that. We're a little bit afraid. Because here we have some standing in this world. If we go that way, maybe we'll become crazy to the eyes of the people in this world. Isn't it? They may think, this guy's crazy. All he does is chant Hare Krishna all the time. You ask him anything, Hare Krishna is his reply. He's like a loon. We're a little bit afraid of that. So, like when I was a kid, the priest at my church, he used to sometimes say jokingly, Lord, make me a saint, but not today. Because we think that we're safe here, that we figured it out. We figured out our life this way, that way, everything, and how much I can give myself to Krishna consciousness. I've got the balance right. I've got it all right. And we're afraid to let go of that. Why are we afraid? Because we don't have deep faith.
We are attached in the world.
We're attached to the world. So deep, that means our faith is what's called chanchala. Coming and going, coming and going. Chanchala, unsteady faith. And of course, that's how it must be. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, as much as you're attached to this world, that much you must worship the world.
Same thing Arjuna said to Krishna. It is very hard to control the mind. Because it is very chanchal.
Yeah. Easier to control the wind, Krishna, Arjuna says. Easier to control the wind, I think. Who can control the wind? So yeah, this is the fact. So we have to apply ourselves as much as we can to the process of Krishna consciousness. But it is a fact. Mahaprabhu has given this. Krishnadas Kaviraj has told us the stages of progress in devotional service, which is beginning with Sukriti, Agyata Sukriti, Gyata Sukriti, then Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajana Kriya. Then after Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nibriti. So that means Sukriti means spiritual merit. That you acquire spiritual merit. First of all, Agyata Sukriti. You stopped your car to let the Sankirtan party go across the road. You worked in a hospital and you gave some treatment to a Vaishnava who was sick. Some devotee came past your house and stole a rose from your garden, took it to the temple and offered to Krishna. You'll get the benefit for all these things, even though you don't know. That's called Agyata Sukriti. You can say it goes into your spiritual bank account. Then when that reaches a certain stage, then some dividend is paid to you. Then Agyata Sukriti then becomes Gyata Sukriti. Now, I want to go to the temple. I want to take some roses from my garden and offer to Krishna in the temple and do all these things. Gyata Sukriti. Put some money in the box or, bring some bananas or whatever it is to offer to Krishna. This is Gyata Sukriti. And from Gyata Sukriti is born Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Now I have faith in Krishna. I have faith in Krishna consciousness. I have faith in the scripture. I have faith in the devotees. However small that may be. But as that evolves and grows, then comes Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha means that you get the association of a sadhu, of someone who's deeply practicing the path of Krishna consciousness. Sadhu Sangha. And not incidentally, but consciously. I want to have the association of these devotees. That's Sadhu Sangha. Then Sadhu Sangha, after Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means I accept this devotee as my spiritual master, and he has given me some bhajan to do. Bhajana Kriya, the path of bhajan. That begins when we make a substantial connection with the Vaishnava, usually through initiation. Then after that, our real, you can say, spiritual life begins. And then Anartha Nivriti. So Anartha Nivriti means ridding the heart of all the things that are against devotion, that live in your heart. Everything that is non-Krishna, you can say. And after Anartha Nivriti, then comes Nishta. So Nishta means firm faith. But the gap between Bhajana Kriya and Nishta is massive. Anartha Nivriti is the real sadhana. So that means when Gurudev says, finding fault with myself is my sadhana, is my religion, that's Anartha Nivriti. Recognizing your faults and getting rid of them. Was it Thomas Carlyle, Scottish philosopher, he said, there's no greater fault that I can see than thinking that you have none. To think you have no faults is the greatest fault. To recognize those faults from gross to subtle, and then to eliminate them, it is a lifetime's endeavor, maybe many lifetimes' endeavor, because we've been in this material world eternally, and from that exposure, connection with that material world, we are filled with acquired prejudice, acquired misconception, and acquired tendency. All of those things which we think are us, but actually have nothing to do with us. They're all false. Guru Maharaj says mental mushrooms. Said mushrooms have no roots, they just grow on the surface. Throw a bucket of water on them, they've washed away. But we're thinking that they're deeply ingrained with us. You know, and especially as you get older, you're like, oh, I can't change who I am now. That's who I am. But we have to understand that's all illusory. That's not who we are. It's just what the material world has convinced us we are. So this is an art and nivritti, like if you've ever made ghee from butter, that as you very gently heat the butter till it's liquid, and then the impurities, they rise to the surface. And you use something and skim that off. And they keep rising, skim off, skim off, skim off, until it's just the pure oil is left. That's ghee. It's quite a long process to do that. So an art and nivritti is something like that. You know, by our sadhana, all of those impurities, they float to the surface. Sometimes devotees say, oh, I never thought about something like that before. I was a devotee. I don't know where that's coming from. It's deep within you. Samanartha, deep within you, comes. You have to skim it off and keep. It's an ongoing process. And when that's finished, then comes nishta, that firm faith. That means you can't be swayed from Krishna consciousness. Nothing can lure you away. But that's also just the beginning. Guru Maharaj said, nishta, nothing. So nishta, then there's ashakti and ruchi, all of these things. That we're far away from those things. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you cannot taste the fruit without climbing the tree. Otherwise, if you jump to grab the fruit, you won't be able to enjoy that. You will only get the rotten fruits, or you will say, they were bitter anyway. You know? Sour grapes. Oh, they're sour. The fox can't reach the grapes. They're sour anyway. So, oh yeah, I tried Krishna consciousness. Not for me. It didn't work. Didn't work. I tried it for 10 years, 20 years. Didn't work for me. No, you have to be in it for the long term. That means this life and as many other lives as it takes to perfect that. All sounds quite formidable, doesn't it? But the saving grace is this, that we're not dealing with an impersonal absolute. We're dealing with Krishna, who is reality, the beautiful. And he is the most sympathetic, loving, kind, beautiful, gracious, merciful Lord that you could ever imagine. That you couldn't even imagine. How gracious, how merciful, how kind, how loving he is. Just that we're making the attempt, Krishna will see that and will help us. As much as we try to reach him, he will extend himself to us, to lift us up. He didn't create us just to suffer in this material world. He created us for a life of love with him, eternal life of love with him. But he can't force us to do that. He is along with our being, he has given us free will. Free will is the very essence of existence. Without free will, we're nothing more than a rock. A rock has no free will. But we have conscious free will. And with that conscious free will, Krishna wants that we will surrender ourselves to him. With our conscious free will, Krishna wants that we will offer our heart to him. That's all. That's all. So if we come before the Lord, at the door of our qualification, we're immediately going to be disbarred, disqualified. If you come with all your certificates about how great you are in front of Krishna, how qualified you are, how many rounds you chant every day, how many times you offer obeisances to the deity, how many times you do this, do that, all the disqualified. It's like the glowworm trying to show its light in front of the sun. Krishna's repelled by that. So we have to go to another door, the door of mercy. The door of mercy, it's very low down. You can't go there with your head high and your chest puffed out. You have to go on your hands and knees. In all humility, you have to go to the door of mercy. That here I am, warts and all, the most terrible, horrible, despicable person. That's me. But I come to surrender to your lotus feet. Please accept me. Please accept me, however terrible I may be. But Krishna will. Krishna doesn't say, well, you go out there and you smarten yourself up and you get yourself like in some state, acceptable state, and then come back. No. He'll accept you as you are, right now, right this moment. If you are sincere, he will accept. And what does he expect in return? Service. So pranipat, pariprashna means proper inquiry, relevant inquiry, and sevaya. Why sevaya? What does he need us to serve him for? Surely he's got everything, right? He lives in Vrindavan, Mother Jashoda cooks him everything he needs. Srimati Radharani, her cooking is ecstasy. Then, why does he need our service? He doesn't. We need his service. We need to serve him. We need to give ourselves to him. And he will accept. If you offer me a fruit, a flower, water, a leaf, with love, I will accept it. Krishna says. So we believe that. We need his service. We need his connection. And he wants that. Guru Maharaj said, Krishna is a consumer of hearts. He wants your heart. So offer your heart to him. You can, because you have that capacity. Everybody has the capacity to love and be loved. Everyone. No one can say, I don't want love. Everyone wants love. And everyone can give love. Just that we've always been going in the wrong place, or looking in the wrong place for it. Offer yourself to Krishna. Please, Krishna, love me. Please, Krishna, let me love you. He won't refuse. He will accept if you are sincere. That's all you need. Sincerity. And he is the greatest consumer of love. Every atom of your being he can consume, and every atom of your being he can fulfill with love. And you won't find that anywhere else. Only with Krishna. That is our proposal. That is Krishna consciousness. We finish here today. Jayam Vishnupad. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Sevan Kari Brinda Ki Jai. Kol Kartel Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande.